How about just getting involved in the life of some kid somewhere and just helping them along the way? There's a quote that was attributed to Dr. Seuss, and it says, "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened." We can alter that just a bit today by saying this: don't cry because Bob's no longer with us on this earth, but smile because he was here. And have a bigger smile that he's always here. He's always here. And because we have an opportunity to continue his legacy. Bob Barber was a walking encyclopedia in the area of sports, especially baseball. He made me laugh more deeply than any other human being I have ever known in my entire life. Let me give you a couple of examples of just one example of his encyclopedia thing. On September 9th, 1965, a pitcher named Sandy Koufax pitched a perfect game for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Their opponent was the Chicago Cubs. Okay, anybody besides me a Cub fan? Let me see. None? Thank you. Thank you. There are two of us. I appreciate you revealing yourself in public. It is good. There's probably some closet people, but they just don't have enough guts. I did a workshop for the Cubs a few years ago, and I told them, like I'll tell you, anybody can have a bad century. Back to the perfect game. In such a game, the opponent makes 27 consecutive outs. No hits, no runs, no errors, no player reaching first base. How many of you ever heard of the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C.? They displayed a sign at an exhibit recognizing Sandy Koufax's perfect game. It had a sign that said this: Mr. Koufax struck out all 27 batters. He didn't. He had a good day. He struck out 14, but the Smithsonian made an error. They made a mistake. Can you guess who was visiting the Smithsonian and saw the incorrect sign? Go out on a limb, take a guess on this one. Then pointed out to the Smithsonian that they'd made a mistake so they could correct it. I think you know, Bob Barber. Man was amazing. As to laughter, I'm sure you can share this with me, but we have laughed so hard that sometimes we cried. I didn't think of this till today when playing the George Jones song. I cannot imagine, but it happened. We had bet on a baseball game one time, and I lost. Guess what I had to do? We went to the Vernon Cemetery, where there were a lot of noises. We weren't going to disrupt anybody. And I had to sit in his car and listen to George Jones for an hour. Cranked as high as it could go. It was the longest hour I spent in my life. We laughed and we laughed and we laughed. And I know this is gross, but one time we laughed so hard that I was drinking tea and it came out my nose. And he got to laughing and he had a Diet Coke and it came out his nose. Bob had a great laugh, but he created a lot of laughter for others, often at his own expense. I'll always remember the old P&D softball field, where we played church softball. I see some people already smiling. One night, we were playing Comiskey. Bob was the shortstop. I was the third baseman. There was a ball hit to the outfield, and the guy was coming around second, going to third, and Bob went out to catch the ball, to cut it off, to throw it to me, to get the runner that was heading for third. Bob still had a great arm. He did. He had a strong arm. His only problem was accuracy. So it's going to be one of those plays where it's going to be close. And all I remember is after he threw it, I just went like this. Had to be 10 feet over my head. And it gets funnier because it hit a pole and bounced off the heads of 2 of our fans. I think it was Linda and Irene. It might have been Linda and Patty. Fortunately, nobody was hurt. But I do remember this. The game was delayed because their players and our players were laughing so hard we couldn't start again. And the same game, 2 innings later, guy hits a ball and Bob makes a play like TV. He backhands it. It was great. Throws the ball to Carol Ritz at first. It's going to be great. Same problem. Carol goes. Ball was thrown hard enough that it went all the way to the highway, and a truck is going by. Fortunately, it didn't go in a window. Laughter, laughter, laughter. I cannot go in an airport and not think of Bob Barber. I can't do it. One weekend, RJ and I went out to Nebraska to see Rob play. He was playing for IU. Bob and Mary Lee were going to pick us up at the airport. Somehow, Bob thought it'd be funny to scare us when we came off the plane. So he hid behind a door. And so when we came out, he's going to leap out and scare us. Good plan. But Bob hadn't seen that in front of him was a rope about 3 feet high. And as he came out to scare us, he really did scare us because he tripped over the rope and he actually went prone like this and flew by us to scare us. And I remember all these people getting out of the plane thinking Nebraska was this calm place. Everybody is laughing. And he jumps up like nothing happened, okay? Hey, how you doing? How you doing? I laughed so hard. That was a true Bob Barber moment. But I have to share one more with you that happened here in this church. And I never laughed so hard in my life. I never have since in a church. We were in the back row. We just served communion. And I'm not saying that the pastor was a little dry that day. But Bob's attention wandered just a little. And he started playing with the communion cup holder on the back of the pew. And then I look over at him, and he's looking at me because he's got his finger stuck. He's trying to get it out so nobody sees him. He's looking like this. And as he looks at me, he's going, there's no way I'm helping him. And it gets swollen. Now he can't get it out, and he's almost panicky. One of the funniest things I ever saw, he took off his sport coat and put it over his hand like somebody's not going to notice that. Oh, man, that was funny. In closing, I want to read you one more entry from the Caring Bridge.